Good day everyone, today we will explore Islamic housing finance at Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad and how it differs from conventional housing loans. So let's go to our field reporter.
Thank you. Many Malaysians want to own a house, but some are still confused about Islamic housing finance. Let's hear from a potential home buyer.
I want to buy a new house, but I'm not sure. Islamic housing finance is differ from conventional bank.
To answer this question, let's hear from our Islamic finance expert.
Islamic housing finance uses Sharia contracts such as musyarakah mutanakisah and commodity murabahah as alternative to conventional loans.
To understand more about how this contract works and how Bank Islam applies them, let's watch this short explanation.
Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad, or BIMB, was established in 1 July 1983 as Malaysia's first fully-fledged Islamic bank. It provides Sharia-compliant banking and financial services based on Islamic principles. Among its key offerings is Islamic housing financing, which helps customers own homes without involving interest-based loan. Instead, BIMB applies Sharia contracts such as musyarakah, mutanakisah, and commodity murabahah tawaruk, providing ethical and compliant financing solutions for home buyers. Islamic housing finance differs from conventional housing loans in its principles and contractual structure. Islamic financing is based on Sharia-compliant contracts and avoids riba, gharar, and maisir. Instead of charging interest, the bank earns profit through Sharia-compliant transactions. In contrast, conventional housing loans involve lending money to customers with interest charged on the loan.
Next, I will be covering about Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad housing finance product, which operate entirely on Sharia compliance principle to eliminate interest or riba. Bank Islam offering 4 types of housing finance product. The first one is the Baiti Home Financing, which is flagship product offering up to 90% financing while wrapping legal and takaful fees into the total facility. And then the second one is Wahda Home Refinancing. That's allow homeowners to convert conventional debt into Sharia compliance. And the third one is SJKP Housing Scheme, that designed for gig workers without standard income slips. And this scheme offering up to 100% financing guaranteed by the government. And then the last scheme is the Step Up Payment Scheme that help young graduates cash flow with lower. And this scheme only need to payment for the profit for the first 5 years. So all this scheme underpinned under the Tower Bank Islam of.
Next, I will explain musyarakah mutanakisah, also known as diminution partnership. It is an Islamic home financing concept based on a partnership between the bank and the customer. Both parties jointly own the property at the beginning. Over time, the customer gradually purchases the bank's ownership share through regular payments until the customer becomes the sole owner. Important Sharia principle. First, it really prohibits riba, meaning no interest is charged. Second, it is based on partnership where both the bank and customer share ownership. Third, it promotes risk sharing as both parties share certain responsibilities. It also requires mutual consent, known as taradi, ensuring all agreements are accepted willingly. Lastly, it supports justice by allowing the ownership to gradually transfer to the customer. There are 3 main parties involved: the Islamic bank, the customer, and the property seller. The process begins when the customer chooses a house. The bank and customer then purchase the property together. Every month, the customer makes the payment consisting of rental and the purchase of the bank ownership share. As these payments continue, the bank ownership decreases while the customer ownership increases until the customer owns the property completely. There are several advantages of musyarakah mutanakisah. It is Sharia compliant, free from interest, encourages share ownership, and promotes fair risk sharing between the bank and the customer. As a result, the bank's ownership gradually decrease while the customer ownership increase. Eventually, the customer becomes the 100% owner of the house.
A Sharia compliant financing method based on the buying and the selling of commodities and use real asset instead of interest-based lending, which is riba. And the bank earn profit through the murabahah, which is cost and agreed profit, and rather than interest. Okay, there's 4 steps for the financing process. The first one is bank purchase commodity from a supplier. Second one, bank sells commodity to customer at a different price with a profit margin. And the third one is a customer sells commodity to a third party to obtain cash. And the last one is a customer use cash for home financing and repays the bank through the installment. Okay, next, role and importance of tawarruk. The first one is provide the liquidity while maintaining the Sharia compliance, and then the second one is ensure the transparency through the ownership transfer and the proper documentation. The last one is avoid riba and promotes ethical financial practice. Okay, for the example of tawarruk is home financing, and the situation is a customer wants to buy a house without the conventional interest. Okay, what the content in this situation is Islamic bank applies a commodity murabah structure. Customer receive the financing through the commodity trading, and repayment is made through the fixed installment based on the murabah agreement.
Okay, next, I will present the case study analysis of Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad's housing financing. These sections explain how Bank Islam applies Islamic contracts in its home financing product, why these contracts are Sharia compliant, and their benefits and limitations. Bank Islam mainly use commodity murabahah or tawarruk in its banking home financing product. Under this contract, the bank purchases a Sharia compliant commodity and sells it to the customer at a cost plus an agreed profit margin with deferred payment. Another recognized Islamic contract is Musyarakah Mutanakisah, which is based on joint ownership between the bank and the customer. However, Bank Islam mainly adopts commodity murabahah because it is more practical and operationally efficient. These contracts are considered Sharia compliant because they avoid riba or interest and are based on trade. They also promote transparency, fairness, and mutual consent, making them ethical alternative to conventional housing loans. The main benefits of Islamic housing financing are that it is Sharia compliant, transparent, and provides greater certainty for customers. However, the financing process is more complex than conventional loans due to multiple contractual arrangements. Overall, Bank Islam housing financing offers a practical and ethical solution that supports the principle of Islamic finance.
To conclude, Islamic housing finance offered by Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad provides a Sharia-compliant alternative such to conventional housing loans. Instead of using interest of riba, Bank Islam applies Islamic contracts such as Musyarakah Mutanakisah and commodity murabahah, which are structured according to Sharia compliance. Compared to conventional housing loans, Islamic housing financing places greater emphasis on fairness and transparency and mutual consent throughout the finance process. This ensures the customer can purchase a home while complying with Islamic values and ethical financial practices. Overall, Bank Islam demonstrates that Islamic housing finance is not only practical and competitive, but also support responding and home ethical financing. Based on this case study, there are several recommendations to further enhance Islamic housing finance at Bank Islam. First, Bank Islam should continue increase public awareness by providing simpler explanation and educational program about Islamic home financing, as many customers are still unfamiliar with contracts like Musyarakah Mutanakisah and commodity murabahah. Second, the bank should improve transparency by presenting financing terms in a clearer and more user-friendly way, allowing customers to better understand their rights and responsibilities. Finally, customers should also take the initiative to understand and compare financing options before signing any agreement. This helps them choose a financing plan that best suits their financial needs while remaining compliant with Islamic principles. Thank you.
From this explanation, we can see how Bank Islam provides a Sharia compliance solutions for housing finance.
These contracts ensure that housing finance follow Islamic principles through transparent and ethical transaction.
Reporting live from Taman Melati, I'm Adin Fatihi. Back to you in the studio.
So that's conclude our special report on Islamic housing finance at Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad. I'm Izzat Mohamed Badazaman, and this has been BIMB News. See you in our next report.